Hey guys, so what I'm working on today is I'm still working on the harness, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to source out, this is the ignition switch from the van. It's shaft operated into there, and how I can adapt a contemporary, an ancient ignition switch to do the same purpose here. So anyways, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to sort out how these come apart so I can pull the lock cylinder out. Now this is one that didn't have a lock cylinder in it, and that's a brand new lock cylinder for this truck. That's keyed the same as the doors, which are also brand new lock cylinders. Anyways, but I think I've got a little bit better bezel in the other truck in the shed there. So I'm going to go in there and see if I can pull that out. I've been in there already for several times and it's roasting hot. A cat followed me in there and she was sitting on top of one of the cars in there, and I had to carry her out because I think she was getting a little bit too hot, because she was content to sleep on top of one of the vehicles, but I think that was way too hot for a cat and way too hot for me, so I brought her in here. And now she's sleeping peacefully. She wasn't in there very long, so don't worry, she didn't get hurt. This is just for the Rick fix here. This is what I think you saw in the woods, but it's hard to tell. This is a 38 Ford two-door body shell that I got in here. And I think that looked a lot like yours, but I'll be honest, I thought, now that I think about it, I have to go back and watch your video, I thought the rear window was smaller, so maybe that's something else. In any case, that's what I meant by humpback. This one is, supposedly that's what a humpback is. Anyways, I'm going to try and pull this out. This is the ignition switch. Have a look at it, see if it is actually better. It's a little more pitted, but the other one had a good scratch in it. That actually might not be pitting, that might just be gunge on there. Well, we'll see if we can take this out, and then we'll use the best of the two. I may end up just sanding and polishing it anyways. I kind of have ended up dechroming a lot of what's on the cab, or that's the way it's shaping up to. Anyways, I'll get to it. Before you get too hot, it's very hot in here. This is my container, by the way, in case you weren't sure. And it's about 40 degrees Celsius, or certainly over 100 in here. It's very, very, very hot in this container. I don't think I'm gonna spend too much more time in here. I am gonna grab one thing. I'm gonna grab the high beam thing out of the truck here and then close the doors. Tuffy was in here earlier, and I took her out very quickly because she clearly was getting quite hot, and it's a silly place for that cat to be. Anyways, back to the shop. Here's Tuffy just cooling off after a little foray in the cargo container. Right, kitty cat? Not a good place for you guys. Too hot. So anyways, I've been working on the layout of these starter switches, the van one and the classic style, and laid out each what's on and off during each one. It looks like I can make the older switch work with the newer harness. The only compromise I have to make is that it looks like in the van they made the differentiation between the heater and yeah, basically it was just the heater isn't on when the key is an accessory. So depending upon whether or not I care whether or not it is on in accessory, which I really don't, I might just wire those two lines together, because there's a separate line for it in the new harness for those ones. But otherwise everything else was on the accessory line and all that. So I think I shouldn't have any problems, setting or taking this connector off and putting this one on for the heater. So the next one I'm going to have a look at is the one for the light switch. Here's a original 72 one. I just pulled out, and I'm going to trace that one out and see how different that is from a stock one, or from the 72 version. Obviously the connector isn't quite the same. but I will figure it out. Well, that ended up being really easy. The headlights, no problem either way. The knobs even interchange. They'd have a slightly different layout, but and this being the older one. But if I just go with the new one, it'll fit in exactly the same position. It's exactly the same form factor, so I don't have to do any rewiring of that one. It'll work perfectly. So that worked out great. You know, I might have to swap this piece out, but big deal. It's the same thread, I think, even. I'll check it to be sure, but nevertheless, I believe it is. Even if it isn't, this is fine. So that part is solved very easily. I guess at this point, the next thing that I've got to sort out is adapting the high beam, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. That's pretty straightforward. It's just a switch that goes, you know, high or low. And, you know, I've got several of these lying around. I just have to figure out which is common and which is high and low. And it doesn't really matter, you know, high or low. It doesn't matter which one of those settings is that way, really. Okay, so I've nearly sorted out this harness except for the one thing that I was looking at the other day, which is this column solenoid. I've already figured out that it comes through to this pin of the neutral safety switch. I've got another one. This is a stock, well, a 72 one. A few more extra wires, but I don't think it's going to end up being a big deal to wire that in. I just have to figure out if removing the solenoid is actually going to cause me some grief for the start and park. You know, I don't want to have to shift that to neutral to start every time, because that actually is only energized when it's in park. Anyways, more and more fun stuff, and I guess the only other thing left to do is to resolve the brake switch thing. And from what I saw, the first of these two prongs is only for that that column solenoid. The second one appears to be for the ABS, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to verify that. And the third one is just for the brake lights. So if I can resolve that, then I think we're cool. Well, I got a couple of issues that I got to work out. I still don't have a solution for them. I've been looking at them for a little while here. And first of which, brake switch. Two problems here. One is that I realized that after I looked at the original switch, that the original switch is normally closed. So that means that when it's, you know, without it being compressed, the circuit is made between these 2 points. Now, in actual fact, the brake pedal presses it all the time until you step on it, and then it releases, and that's what turns your brake lights on. This one is actually different. This one is normally open for the brake lights. So that's kind of a, probably not a big deal, since that would be the same story. Actually, is that right? Yeah, that's the opposite of what I'd have it to be expecting to be, because this is normally open now. So it only is made when something presses against this part here. The other problem is this set of terminals I think I'm fine with deleting. The middle set of terminals, I traced them out, ran them back all the way through to here, up through the main harness, and they actually go through this big circuitous path all the way through here, and they go back to the PCM. So I don't know what the PCM needs the brake signal for, but I can't assume that it doesn't really need it, so I have to kind of leave that one there. So I've got to work out some different idea. You know, a possibility is to use a relay to make brake that, you know, to basically, you know, two-pole relay to, you know, on the output of that. But I'm not nuts about putting any relays in the path of the brake lights, so that's not exactly a brilliant idea. Next problem is I can't figure out how the neutral safety is supposed to work, because I've traced, here's where the starter switch goes. Purple wire is going to the starter solenoid. It goes through the entire harness without being broken all the way out to the firewall here. And I trace it out here, And there's some kind of hack job here, and I don't understand what somebody was trying to achieve necessarily. But basically, the solenoid wire right here, which I actually don't have labeled, but I figured it out. Somebody bodged a relay in here. You know, this end goes to the starter solenoid, and this is coming from the starter switch. And I'm not sure why they put a relay in there. Maybe they were burning up starter switches or something like that, but that still is bizarre nonetheless. But the even more bizarre part is this end of the relay is unterminated. And if I cut it myself, I would have labeled it. So I'm not sure where that was supposed to go. Now here's the other odd part. Somebody did a splice in here with an orange wire that goes back into the harness again. So, yeah, I've got some, you know, unfortunately is the, you know, one of those hassles of dealing with this sort of stuff. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to strip the heat shrink off of this, trace back where this is going into the harness, and see where that goes back, so that I can figure out what's going on and where this was supposed to go. If this was just supposed to go to ground or not, I don't know. It's just very strange, you know. Ugh. Nonetheless, I think that's it for today, unless I, you know, figure that out. Nevertheless, I'm going to go and rotisserie the chicken. Later, guys. Thanks for watching.